Not bad. Not how I would like it, but not terrible either. Um, the plan was to go live next week, but you know, guys, that I hardly ever go live unless there's a topic that I feel pretty strongly about. So this is one of those instances, right? Um, Not strongly. I think strongly is a very strong word. Um, but yeah, I feel I have an opinion basically, and who else can I talk to about that opinion, especially if it's MMA related than you guys. So um, basically, MMA Guru made a video where he is basically claiming that um, Merab actually won the fight, right? And in that video, he basically says that the control time does not matter. Um, Significant strikes are the most important thing, right? Damage specifically, he says damage is the most important element of the scoring criteria. He even says that he knows the rules, right? Like we don't know them, like they're not easily Googleable on the internet, right? When he said he knows the rules, it was funny because it's like he has like a secret that no one else has. Like you can easily Google that whatever the rules are on the internet. So that's where actually I would like to start this whole stream, right? Before I give you my opinion, let's go through what the unified rules say about scoring. Right, before we get to the Merab and Sean O'Malley fight. Effective striking shall be considered the first priority of round assessments, right? Effective aggressiveness is a plan B and should not be considered unless a judge does not see any advantage in the effective striking and grappling realm. Cage or ring control plan C should only be needed when all of the criteria are 100% even for both competitors. This will be an extremely rare situation, basically. That's the summary. I don't want to go too deeply, but maybe I will throughout the video. But they go on to actually elaborate what effective striking and grappling is. And actually, I think let me go on because according to MMA Guru, the 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 number one thing, the number one scoring criteria is damage. But according to this, the unified rules, this is not my opinion, right? These are the unified rules. According to the unified rules, priority criteria effective striking or grappling. Not not effective striking. Effective striking or grappling. And like I said at the beginning of this stream, this is not my opinion. You can Google the unified rules, right? But let's actually just go through the entire the elaboration of these rules, right? Effective striking or grappling. Legal blows that have immediate or culminative impact with the potential to contribute towards the end of the match with the immediate weighing in more I'm sorry about that. With the immediate weighing in more heavily than the culminative impact. Successful execution of takedowns. Let me repeat that, right? Because according to MMA Guru, when he was busy going live, he was saying, "Yeah, I know the rules. I know the rules. Damage. Stop doing this." And he was claiming that Merab won because he's from the Caucasus region, right? Let me repeat that, right? Because according to MMA Guru, the unified rules say that you win, that like the priority is damage, right? But I'm reading the unified rules now and they are saying something differently. Let me repeat that. Successful execution of takedowns is number one. Successful execution of takedowns is number one. Not number one, but This is basically effective striking and grappling. Successful execution of takedowns, submission attempts, reversals, and the achievement of advantageous positions that produce immediate or culminative impact, with the potential to contribute to the end of the match, with the immediate weighing in more heavily than the culminative impact. It shall be noted that a successful takedown is not merely a changing of position, but the establishment of an attack from the use of the takedown. Top and bottom position fighters are assessed more on the impactful or effectiveness, um, or effective results of their actions, more so than their position. This criteria will be deciding the deciding factor in a high majority of decisions when scoring a round. The next two criteria must be treated as a backup and used only when effective striking or grappling is 100% equal for the round, right? That's effective striking or grappling. I would like to reiterate the fact that nowhere does it say that the priority, obviously damage is the most important thing, and that's basically fight ending sequences, basically damaging shots. But when MMA Guru was making the video that he was making, he made it seem like only striking, whether it's a punch or whatever the case is, that's the only effective grappling basically in MMA, right? Guru is top tier coping. Sean clearly lost, although round three is close and round five clearly went to him. Yeah, there are rounds that are arguable, but the fifth round, in my opinion, clearly went to Sean O'Malley, because according to the unified rules, basically, um, Sean O'Malley did more damage. But there's this theory in MMA right now that somehow control time, which is contrary to the rules that I just read right now, which is contrary to the rules. There are people who have this idea that in MMA, you you need to be standing in order to make any sort of impact or to have any sort of damage inflicted on any fighter. And I think I've made this argument before that in a fight, right, in a grappling match, if someone is choking you and they don't let go, what's going to happen, right? Because it seems like a lot of MMA fans, specifically MMA Guru fans, they somehow favor kickboxers or boxers over wrestlers. Um, and I've always asked this question that if ever in a grappling match, right? Even if let's leave matches outside. Let's say it's a street fight, right? So what happens if someone chokes you and doesn't let go, right? It has the same effect as someone punching you over and over and not stopping. The difference is the damage will be visible. That's mainly send me location, Shama. Um, Sean looked broken at the end of the fight. That he even said straight after he felt defeated. Yeah, he felt defeated. But my biggest issue with what MMA Guru was doing, and he likes to do this. He speaks about things as if he's an expert when clearly he's not, because I just read, even though I didn't go through all the rules, I just went through the first element, and that's why I focused on it. According to the unified rules, right? The unified rules say effective striking or grappling is number one, and any other element that comes after that, there are three stages of judging a fight. So effective grappling and striking are number one. So in a rare situation, in fights like Carla Esparza or Yoel Romero versus Israel Adesanya, in those particular type of fights, you have to go lower into the criteria basically, of the unified rules criteria or scoring criteria. So people like MMA Guru are spreading the false idea that scoring is solely based on striking damage, or damage caused by striking, which is insane to me. Which, like, it's one of the most insane things to me, because in the video that he was making, he literally out he excluded every grappling exchange as useless, because according to him and the expert that he is, um, grappling exchanges are not effective and are not damaging, and therefore, um, they shouldn't be counted as anything more than that. Let me actually proceed with the entire unified rules. Actually, change Sean O'Malley's nickname to Salty. Let me actually proceed. The first one was effective striking and grappling, and then the second one is effective aggressiveness. So in the instance where effective striking and grappling, and I think I went through this. If you're just joining the stream, um I apologize. You can always watch the stream again. Salty Sean O'Malley. Salty Sean O'Malley. Wow. It's not me saying all these things, guys. It's cold here. Oh, there was snow that fell somewhere, so I apologize if I sound weird right now. Like, it's cold and I'm outside. Anyway, effective aggressiveness is number two on the list, or rather on how to score a fight. Right, effective aggressiveness, aggressively making attempts to finish the fight. The key term is effective. Chasing after an opponent with no effective result or impact should not render the judge's assessment. Effective aggressiveness is only to be assessed if effective grappling or effective striking or grappling is 100% equal for both competitors. In this fight, that's one of the reasons why I was saying that, it's crazy for me. For anyone who says Sean O'Malley won that fight is insane, in my opinion, because when you look at the unified rules, according to the unified rules, if the fight is close, you have to then go on to effective aggressiveness, right? I don't feel like there were too many fight-ending attempts by Merab, right? So we go to the third one, which is fighting area control. That's the third one. Fighting area control is assessed by determining who is dictating the pace, place, and position of the match. Fighting area control shall only be assessed if effective striking or grappling and effective aggressiveness is 100% equal for both competitors. This will be assessed very rarely. This is very important because it says if number one, effective grappling or striking is basically equal, which I feel like striking was more or less, even to some extent, because Sean O'Malley did not throw that much in that particular fight. It's not like Sean O'Malley was throwing crazy volume. Sean O'Malley was not throwing that much, so it doesn't make sense to me that Sean O'Malley would then have any sort of claim to any sort of round. So, in my personal opinion, on the feed, it's not like Merab was just looking at him. Admittedly, Sean O'Malley was slightly, not heavily, slightly winning the striking exchanges, but it wasn't anything crazy. So, according to the unified rules, I feel like when we look at effective striking and grappling, we can then conclude that it's close, or rather effective striking, not grappling. Effective striking, in my opinion, was close. Sean O'Malley had a slight edge. What MMA Guru was doing was basically saying grappling does not matter. So even if your effective striking, or rather your striking, is slightly effective, that's what wins you the round. Control does not necessarily matter. So in that particular, in every single round, almost every single round, I feel like the fight was close, and Merab separated himself and won the other rounds by using effective control, because I wouldn't give him effective aggressiveness, because effective aggressiveness requires you to um, attempt to end the fight, right? Which is basically what Sean O'Malley tried in the fifth round, which is what makes sense to give him. Every other round is for Merab. There are some rounds that there's maybe one, and I'm saying maybe heavily, that you can argue for Sean O'Malley, but I don't feel like there's any solid argument you could make for any round except the fifth round, which obviously Sean O'Malley clearly won. So for anyone to, and this is something that I don't like about what is happening today as far as MMA is concerned. There are people with a lot of influence, like the MMA guru, who make MMA seem like, and obviously people like Dana White is obviously the owner of the, or rather the president of the UFC, but he is basically one of these people who are basically turning MMA into kickboxing, right? So whenever you whenever a fight like Shevchenko versus Grasso, or Sean O'Malley versus Merab, or Leon Edwards versus Bilal Mohammed, whenever you see fights like that, they say that it's boring, that person did not win. That was basically the same argument that was being used to say Alexander Volkanovski beat Islam Makhachev in the first fight, because grappling, or rather control time, does not necessarily matter. Maybe there's a different argument. Maybe Alexander Volkanovski. Maybe I would have to go back and watch that fight. Even on the feed, though, when I remember, or rather, based on what I can recall, I checked the statistics. The only thing that Alexander Volkanovski did better in that particular fight was volume. But when you look at effectiveness in terms of effective strikes, or rather impactful strikes, it was in the favor of Islam Makhachev. I think one of the biggest issues was obviously the fight ended with Islam Makhachev on his back. But my biggest issue, I'm getting out of topic. My biggest issue is that we are turning MMA into kickboxing and boxing, basically. And there's a reason why kickboxing is not as big as MMA, largely because MMA is it simulates a real fight. Like, if you watch boxing, it's clearly a sport, right? Obviously, MMA is a sport, but MMA is different because it's a real life situation. It's a real, if you put a kickboxer, or if you put a boxer into an octagon with an MMA fighter, they are probably going to lose that fight, largely because they can easily be taken down, right? So that's one of the most incredible things about MMA. And I don't know why people have this idea that grappling is boring, because it's not like every striking match is one of the most entertaining things on the planet. I made an example with Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Um, there are so many fights. I mean, the Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards fight was not that great. There was like a great moment towards the end of the fight, but other than that, there was nothing incredible that like was impressive about that particular fight. So I don't understand. Almost every single Israel Adesanya fight to me is not that great. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Israel Adesanya. I almost said I used to be, but I don't like his recent behavior. But I'm a massive fan, not a massive, but I'm a fan of Israel Adesanya. But a lot of his fights are not that entertaining, even though they are striking matches. A lot of people were complaining about him, and he's a striker, and they were saying, "Oh, he's boring, he's boring." And then there's this notion, at the same time, simultaneously, there's this idea that striking matches are the most entertaining type of martial arts that exists. And yet they were complaining about someone like Israel Adesanya being boring with his striking. They are still complaining to till this day about Israel Adesanya being boring, about Leon Edwards being boring because he doesn't necessarily finish fights. So in MMA, right, in my opinion, I feel like the only way to be considered an exciting fighter is to finish fights, and I think that's a general thing. But for people like MMA Guru to perpetuate the false notion that only striking is the most effective um, mixed martial arts, I feel like it's killing a different area of mixed martial arts. And obviously, the MMA, but again, the UFC is going to listen to what the fans want to some extent. Even though I know a lot of people think that Dana White does not pay attention, but why do you think he's reacting to all the backlash about John Jones? Why do you think he's reacting to what people were saying about UFC 300? He released a video dunking on everyone who was talking trash. Clearly, the UFC is listening to the fans, and who is it? Is the UFC going to listen? Because they are not going to listen to individual people like everyone who's on the stream right now. Like there's too many of us. Like there's millions of MMA fans. So the UFC is not going to listen to every individual opinion. What they're going to do is they're going to look at who has the most amount of followers, and they're going to take the views of those particular people. And that's one of the reasons why I like people like MMA Joey, because I disagree with him on some topics. I feel like I agree with like 90% of what he says, because he tries to be as impartial as possible, right? There are some instances when I'm like, what are you talking about? But for the most part, I like what he does because he is impartial as much as he possibly can. I feel like this thing of people saying, number one, that striking is the only way you can cause damage in a fight is insane, because that's not what the unified rules say. And basically, just by reading the unified rules, you can clearly see that MMA Guru does not know what he's talking about. Even though in the video he claims that he knows what he's talking about, he knows the rules, because throughout the video, all he does is just count the strikes, and he doesn't even show any type of grappling exchanges, which is honestly insane to me. So that's my 2 cents on that particular topic. I'll do my final predictions maybe on Monday. Um, yeah, I wasn't going to go live, but I felt like it was insane, and I have a platform, so I wanted to add my opinion. Let me reply to all of you, and then I can bounce. It's cold out here. Let me reply, and then I'm leaving. I'm from Georgia, and I'm saying that Guru is Sugar's D rider. Wow, that's that's harsh. Ask your grandfather how it felt being a slave. Who said that? Siskins. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but there's a dude in the comment section who says, "Ask your grandfather how it felt to be a slave." Yeah, I don't know how to respond to that, man. I'm glad I have a channel because it taught me to not take everything too seriously. I feel like a lot of people are going through a lot in their personal lives, and they use the internet to try and get, I don't know, attention or a rise out of people. Um, yeah, that's crazy. that's that's crazy. I don't know why you would even say that. Anyway, um, Kamen Rider, Merab had more moments than had the impact to finish the fight in round one with the choke. In round three, those knees with the headlock, and round four, O'Malley got hurt with a ground and pound that made him go. Yeah, I'm willing to accept that, but like I said, I feel like the striking exchanges, obviously O'Malley on the feet looked good, but I don't feel like he was dominating to the point whereby we can sit here and say Sean O'Malley was just styling on him and everything like that. Sean O'Malley was definitely winning on the feet, but I feel like it was a little bit close, right? If the fight was being scored on striking only, because it what Sean O'Malley was doing was not effective striking. He was striking and he wasn't even separating himself. And this idea, and I'm going to reiterate this point so that people understand that striking is equally as important as grappling when it comes to scoring criteria. Effective grappling is taking someone down is as effective as throwing a punch at someone. Go read the unified rules if you disagree with me, and that's why I made sure that when I start this video I read the unified rules, because the unified rules, even though I understand that you have to do something with the takedown, but the unified rules clearly state that um, takedowns are not just a change of position unless if the takedown was not long enough. Like if you take someone down and then they stand up within the next couple of seconds, then obviously that's a change of position. But if you're able to take someone down and control them, then it's a different story. That's effective grappling, right? Because you shouldn't confuse effective control, because control is a separate thing. You can control someone's um you can control someone with what do you call it, with striking, right? How you control someone with striking is by pressuring them. So for example, if for example you are fighting near the fence a lot in a fight, then you are being controlled with striking. Similarly, with even if nothing much is happening in the striking exchanges, but you are being controlled with striking because you are being pushed against the fence. So whoever is pushing you against the fence is winning the striking exchanges, even if you throw like two or three strikes, it doesn't matter. You are winning the striking exchanges purely from control. You can do the same thing with grappling. Once you take someone down and you control them, you are effectively grappling. So for anyone to say that you can only be effective with striking is not only insane but stupid. Like I honestly think anyone who you people need to understand, need to read more often, and that's one of the reasons why I started this channel. That's why my channel is like statistics on statistics on statistics, because I used to be on YouTube. I used to be on Facebook arguing with people who clearly did not know what they were talking about. Information is apparent, it's everywhere. Like now that I'm even doing boxing predictions, right? I've realized that MMA is probably one of the most well run sports, combat sports to be specific, in combat sports, basically, because the information, statistics, and everything like that is readily available. Like if you try to search for statistics on wrestling, on boxing, on kickboxing, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But when it comes to MMA, there's so many resources for you to use to get like proper information. But I realize that people don't even know what they're talking about. They just go on the internet and argue, and that's one of the reasons why I started this channel. Because I was like, how do people not know this? Like, this is something that's available. So people need to read the rules, including him, like MMA Guru, because he thinks he knows everything, and he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. Because effective grappling is taking someone down and controlling them. You don't have to throw, even though the referees will clap their hands and say work, 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 but that's effective grappling. It constitutes effective grappling. If you took someone down and you're controlling them and they're unable to get up, that's effective grappling. It's the same as landing a couple of shots on the feet, even if they're not damaging. It's the controlling the fight, even if you're not throwing a lot, as long as you're pressuring someone, throwing a couple of shots, it's the same as controlling someone on the ground. That's effective grappling. It's scored the same way, right? So I don't I think people need to learn this, and they need to run it through their minds that effective striking is not the only way you can win a fight. Even if someone was winning on the feet, if you control them long enough on the ground, even if you don't have, because ground and pound is an addition to effective grappling. It's not effective grappling. Ground and pound is not grappling. That's punching. That's striking. So I don't know why people think that, like, if Merab didn't throw anything throughout the entire fight, and Sean O'Malley, let's say half the round, 2.5 minutes of the fight, right? Sean O'Malley was the one winning the striking exchanges. He isn't throwing heavy shots or anything that crazy, but he's landing, right? Let's say 2.5 minutes. And then the remaining other 2.5 minutes, Merab takes him down and controls him on the ground. That fight would have been a draw because both of them were being effective with striking and grappling. When someone takes you down, it's effective grappling. When they start punching you, that's another element that's when it becomes like, that's why you eventually get to a point whereby it's 10-8 or in a specific round, because now you are not only effectively grappling, you are also striking on top of that. So I don't even know why I went on such a long rant, but let me reply to you guys. Fatal. Alphabet dude. I'm a big Merab hater. I hate his boring style, but the MMA guru is top tier coping. He was even calling people retards for disagreeing. He's so biased. Yeah, I think that's what's happening with him right now. Since he became friends with Dricus Duplessis, I mean, before he became friends with Dricus Duplessis, he was trashing him hard. And then after they became friends, all of a sudden, Dricus Duplessis was the greatest fighter. Even when Dricus Duplessis grapples, it's fine according to him. But when anyone else does it, it's not effective, right? And he did the same thing with Colby Covington leading up to the fight with Leon Edwards. He was busy telling people how boring Bilal is, when Kobe was going to, if Kobe was going to be successful, he was going to do exactly what Bilal did, but Kobe was not going to win on the feet. He was going to have to just wrestle throughout and use cardio, which is not going to work now because he's older. But that was the plan. Like, there's no difference. I feel like Bilal is a little bit more entertaining than Kobe, because at least he tries to strike and he can actually strike, because that's how he won the fight. He was effective on the feet and actually mixed in the grappling, which is where he is really good. So he was good with Kobe Covington sitting on top of Leon Edwards, like he did with Jorge Masvidal for 5 rounds, and then say, yeah, Kobe is a great fighter, all because he talks trash. Like, no difference between Bilal and Kobe Covington, but he counts Kobe Covington's control time, because Kobe Covington is not going to submit anyone. Control time from Kobe Covington is fine, but control time from Merab or Bilal is means nothing. I, but I moved away from the point that I was trying to make. Since he became friends with Dricus Duplessis, his opinions have been very biased. I thought that was an isolated situation. I didn't actually think that he would continue to be like that. And then he became friends with Sean O'Malley and Tim Welsh, specifically Tim Welsh. And then his opinions of Sean O'Malley changed, because before then he was also trashing Sean O'Malley. Right, I think he went on the Tim Walsh. Him and Tim Walsh, I feel like maybe have like a history of some sort, because his older videos, I remember him, I don't know, having some type of a conversation with Tim Walsh. But nonetheless, when recently when they started to actually start interact, like if you go and watch MMA Guru's videos from last year about Sean O'Malley, he's completely different than what he's doing right now. And the only thing that changed is him being friends with Tim Walsh and obviously Sean O'Malley. So clearly, whenever he becomes friends with these people, he's afraid of actually having an opinion. And maybe that's going to make me not want to have any type of relationship with fighters, especially also because I'm trying to build like a massive awards show. So maybe it's not a good idea to even have interactions with fighters, so that I'm not even biased when it comes to, but I'm not the one voting, that's beside the point. But it seems like whenever you have a relationship with fighters, your opinion of them, which is the biggest problem with mainstream media. I think that's why a lot of YouTube channels are succeeding, because people are tired of hearing biased opinions. Because someone has a relationship with specific fighters, they are unable to be honest about those particular fighters. Like for example, if I started interacting, or I started having relationships with certain fighters, it would be difficult for me to be honest about their trashy performance, because I know that person is on my WhatsApp, and if they see this video, it's gonna be a problem. So I think he's in that same situation. I think the moment he started interacting or having relationships with um, fighters, that's where what made him special started going away. Even though what made him special is basically trashing people, but it seems like him having these relationships is filtering him, which is sad. But yeah, the only difference, if you look back, look at his videos before he became friends with Dricus Duplessis and after. Look at his videos before he became friends with Tim Walsh, and then look at after. You'll see the difference is very clear. You don't even have to ask. Um, uh, Kamen Rider. I don't know what kind of a name is that. Not gonna lie, I almost fell asleep in Shevchenko versus Grasso fight. That's fair. Not every single grappling match is going to be entertaining. I fully understand that, and I feel like everyone is entitled to say grappling fights bore me, which is a fair opinion, right? Because there are boring striking matches. Like, let's say in a women's fight, there's no takedowns and everything like that, lower level, not ranked. It's not me trashing. I'm trying to be a changed person. I don't want to trash WMMA, but I'm trying to make an example. There are so many boring striking matches. I'm, which is crazy to me, to for people to say only grappling is boring. I've seen so many boring striking matches, right? I think it goes both ways. Hamza Chimaev is a simple example of someone who is an exciting grappler. So there are people who can actually make grappling exciting. Um, the same way grappling can be boring, I feel like it's the same way striking can be boring. That striking match, like whenever Sean O'Malley versus Jared Cannonier, oh my god. In fact, whenever Sean O'Malley, well, not Sean O'Malley, Sean Strickland, whenever Sean Strickland fight, man, I know that like a lot of people like Sean Strickland, but like his fights are boring, man. Except a couple of them, maybe Abbas Magomedov. Is it Abbas Magomedov? Something like that. There are exceptions, a couple of fights that you can point to that you're like, okay, this was decent. But other than that, generally the majority of his fights are not that exciting. So for me personally, Sean Strickland is one of the biggest examples that striking is not always exciting. So yeah, let me answer another question. Kamen Rider, I did enjoy the Merab fight though. I thought the Merab actually showed a lot of well-rounded skill striking and ground and pound. I think Merab was surviving on the feet. Right? Even though I think Merab won, I'm not going to go as far as saying that he was doing great on the feet. I felt like he was decent, but as far as entertainment, I agree. And I didn't find the Shevchenko's fight that boring, or as boring as a lot of people might have felt. I felt like it was decently fine or entertaining to some extent. I apologize for that, but for me, I love the sport of MMA in its entirety. I get excited when someone gets knocked out, the same way I get excited when someone like Hamza is busy trying to get the finish. When he was fighting Kevin Holland, Is it his name? Yeah. When he was fighting Kevin Holland, it was one of the most beautiful things, man, to watch. When he was fighting Li Jingliang, obviously the Gilbert Burns fight, I'm not gonna count it because it was striking. I'm talking about specifically grappling. When he was fighting Kamaru Usman in that first round, there was no striking, but I'm sure every single person was on the edge of their seats because he is very effective at what he does. So I love grappling, even when it's not that entertaining. The same way I like striking, even when it's not that entertaining. So yeah, Alphabet Dude. Um, he's a big coper with a big ego. When he gets picks wrong, he starts raging and calling it non-logical. Yeah, I still love him though, because it's funny as fuck. But he is wrong here. Yeah, man. The only reason I'm able to even speak about this topic is because I watch his videos. Even though I disagree with a lot of what he says, unlike MMA Joey, MMA Joey, at least I think I agree with a lot of what he says. MMA Guru, the majority of the time, I don't agree with what he says. I think anyone who follows me knows that. And I've said in the past that MMA Guru is well, he's good largely because of his personality. He's a funny guy. Like he's really entertaining to watch. Irrespective of what he's talking about, you are probably going to enjoy listening to whatever he has to say about that particular topic, specific, especially if it relates to MMA. So I'm not going to sit here and act like MMA Guru is not good at what he does because he is really good at what he does, but he has a shitty opinion on this particular topic. Um, so okay, the guy with many alphabets in his name. Kamen Rider, I literally did fall asleep in the grass versus Shevchenko fight. Wow, you guys are brutal. John Tay, I feel like Israel fights are boring when he is defending the belt and more exciting when he's challenging. Sure, for yeah, but I also think it also has to do with the opponent, right? If the opponent is afraid of Israel Adesanya, then the fight is usually going to be boring. Dricus Duplessis was not afraid of Israel Adesanya. The fight was not boring. I'm I don't want to say the fight between him and Sean Strickland was entertaining because outside of the knockdown in the first round, I don't feel like it was that great. But nonetheless, I felt like it was decent enough because Sean Strickland was moving forward. So I feel like it has to do more with the opponent than it does with his drive. But yeah, I guess even in the Alex Pereira fight, he fought really well. But I also still feel like it largely has to do with um, the opponent. Basically, the opponent determines how the fight is going to play out. That's how I think. Um, you, the guy with the many alphabets. Remember the dude who said that he would purchase you in the 1800s? I remember, dude. Like the things that people say on the stream is crazy. But I'm glad I started a channel because before things used to get to me a lot, but I get trolled so much that I'm getting used to it. Like even when someone says horrible, something horrible, it's getting harder and harder to get to me. Right? Before something like that would have made me really angry, but now. It is what it is. I feel like people go through their own things and they take it out on you, hoping they make you feel how they feel or you give them some type of attention, which is crazy because I give all my subscribers attention. Like I reply, although I haven't replied in the past 2 days. I've been a little bit busy, but I'm going to reply to every single comment. So you don't have to be negative to get my attention. Just comment and I'll reply. It's that simple. you know. Sven, what's good, bro? How are you, man? Sven used to troll me, guys. Like Sven used to be one of my trolls. He's changed his way. He has changed his ways recently. He's a good person. Anyone talking about Sean Strickland winning knows very little about fighting. Yeah, Sven, I agree with you on that one. Saudu Kola Sineg. Hello, do the PC. I don't know what that means, man. The alphabet dude. I agree with fight with this fight. This shouldn't be controversial at all. Yep. Saud Kalasuki. I don't know what language you speak, man. I'm sorry. Hello, Mr. Nation. Say Sada. What's that? Mr. Fender. Haha. What's up, my African brother? Greetings from Serbia. How are you, man? How are you? How are you doing? Let me continue. Um, will O'Malley get a lip tattoo where Merab kissed him? Kamen Rider. I don't know, man. Maybe. Who knows? KCP94. Guru. Guru. What's your background? No, I'm not Guru. My background is like the neighbor's house, which is like trees and stuff like that. Merab exposed the clown boy. Simple as that. He was never a knockout artist. I think he still is a knockout artist. He just met like a style that was problematic to him. I felt like it was dumb for him to not work on his takedown a little bit more. But according to him, the problem was not the skill. The problem was he felt like Merab was a little bit more stronger than he anticipated. So I think that probably was the problem according to him. Denny Blues, Assalamu alaikum. Usman, come here in Indonesia. I'm not Usman, man. The things you guys say. Anyway, I released a video of the of top 20 greatest fighters of all time, in my opinion, across all sports, but predominantly it's boxing and MMA on that particular video. Um, it's it's videos that I made last year in December, but I know that a lot of people were not subscribed to the channel. I think when I made that video, I was on like 3,000 or 2,000 subscribers. So I just re-released it and I compiled all the top 20 fighters in that particular video. I think you'll enjoy watching it. Go to the video section of the channel. If you're new, check the community section, there's a lot happening there. Check the shorts section, there's a lot happening there. The channel is predominantly statistics and predictions for fights. I recently added boxing, but I predominantly do UFC predictions. Eventually I'll start doing one championship and Bellator and PFL, but for now I'm focusing on UFC, and I recently started boxing. Boxing, I've been doing well so far. I've only gotten one fight wrong in my predictions for the past two cards, so that's really good. So if you're new to the channel, that's what I do here. Go to the short section, go to the community section, go to the video section. I just released my top 20 greatest fighters of all time, both boxing and MMA. Um, I'll see you guys when I do my final predictions, probably on Monday. Until then, I love and appreciate all of you. Deuces.